The Princess is a movie on Hulu and Disney Plus here in Ireland and UK and Europe. And I watched it. And I kind of wish I didn't. Let's talk about why. So The Princess is a new movie. It's come out recently. It stars Joey King, who you will know from being the young girl in pretty much every movie for the last 10 years. Pretty much. She's a good actress. She's been in so many things, even the likes of Dark Knight Rises all the way back then. Although there's more of a minor role. So the story of The Princess is that there's a princess, that's a given, and she's locked in a tower. And she has to fight her way down the tower to save her family and escape. Or save the kingdom, or save something. The movie's an hour and a half long, and the pacing is fine. I don't really understand who this movie is targeted to, because the level of violence and even some of the language in it, it's not targeted towards kids, but it's called The Princess. For the same reason, it can't really be a family movie because there's so much blood and people getting their heads cut off and stabbed and all this stuff. It could be a family movie, I guess, but I think a lot of families would be put off by the level of violence within it. Then you could say it's a teenage movie, but I think a lot of teenagers have more important things to do than watch this movie. Like TikTok dances or something. I don't know what teenagers do nowadays. And then you've got action movie fans, you know, likes of The Raid, if someone going through an entire building and taking out everybody. Or even Judge Dredd, the Karl Urban version. He gets locked in a tower, he has to fight his way out. Then again, the movie's called The Princess, and how many big action guys are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to watch The Princess. It's not really the target market. So the target market of it is a bit strange. As the movie evolves, we see more and more of the reasoning why the princess is stuck in the tower. She was supposed to be married to someone else so he could become the king, and she refused. So he locks her in a tower and takes her family, including the king and queen, and locks them away until I guess she just decides to marry. But she is a fighter. She's been trained secretly by a woman called Lynn. So when guards come along and they try to look at her and stuff, she beats the hell out of them, kicks them out of a building. And so it begins, where the princess works her way down the tower one by one, encountering different people and fighting them all off. When you have a movie like that, and the goal is for someone to get down a tower and escape, you've got two options. Either they fight their way all the way down the tower and escape, or they don't. They're really the two ways the story can go. So when your options are limited within the story, it all falls back on the action. How good is the action? Is there gonna be some insane fight scenes and some amazing stuff we've never seen in an action movie before? No. There's fights, they're fine. She encounters a guy with like a helmet with horns on it, fights him, she beats him. She encounters two guys at once and she fights them and she beats them. She encounters a golden knight and she fights him and she beats him. You're kind of getting the picture. Now at the same time, she did throw oil on the Golden Knight and then throw a candle at him, and then we got some of the worst CGI fire I've ever seen in a movie. That was pretty funny, just because of how bad it was. But of course, we've now got the new king, the bad guy, who's locked her away in the tower, and he's got his henchwoman, and she's got this whip, and that makes her a badass. She can just kill anyone with this whip. So she'll come into play later on. And when the Golden Knight is destroyed, that's when the new king, or the bad guy, is alerted that the princess might have actually escaped and be making her way down the tower. So he sends all the guards after her, all of them at once, because they've previously sent up this fat guard, because you know, being overweight, hilarious. Big fat guy walking upstairs and being out of breath. Fat shaming. It's only 2022, why not throw it in there for the fun of it? It was really cheap, cheesy joke, but I guess someone's probably got a laugh out of it. When the fat guard comes downstairs and says, she's still in the tower, they say, really? And then the Golden Knight splats on the ground. They go, oh, he didn't really do his job. Hilarious. Some of the jokes are terrible. Some of the dialogue's terrible. We keep on with the story. So she makes her way down the tower, and ultimately the princess finds Lynn, the woman who trained her. So now she's got a partner in crime. They can make their way down the tower even further. But this is slightly in between her fighting all of the guards, because as I said, the king sends all the guards after her and they all run up the tower, up the stairs, and she has to fight them off one by one as they all come up from either side. Sometimes she takes on 3 at once, and sometimes you can see that Joey King was getting a little bit tired because some of those sword swings were a little heavy-handed. They kind of just about tipped off the fellow actors and they went flying. But of course, our hero ultimately escapes. That's when she meets Lynn, and now she's got a partner in crime to make her way down the tower. But they encounter the woman who has the whip. Joey King is getting strangled as Lynn tries to save her. Ultimately she does, and the princess gets away, but Lynn is captured by the henchwoman. But Joey King gets away, she gets downstairs to where her family is, and she saves her family before getting knocked out. And then she's brought to the king, the new king. Not her dad. And at this point, somewhere along the line, we've been shown a flashback to where the king, her actual father, the actual king, doesn't have an heir. And Joey King's character, the princess, she wants to be the heir to the throne. But that's not happening because back then women weren't allowed to do that. But they make it clear that Joey King wants to be the heir to the throne, and the father says no, has to be a man. We're going to marry off someone, like it or not. She's like, but I'm a badass, I've been training, I'm fighting, let me do it. And he's like, no, not happening. But they set it up that that's what Joey King wanted. She wanted to be the heir, she wanted to become a knight, so she become the heir. That's going to come into play later on, of course. Long and the short of it, we end up with Joey King and Lynn downstairs trying to fight off all the guards while the bad guy is trying to marry Joey King's younger sister, who's only like 10, which is kind of creepy, so that he can become the king. So they have to fight their way through to save her sister now. Kind of change the narrative a little bit. Ultimately, we end up with Lynn getting into the church place and fighting off guards, while sort of random guy who's Lynn's teacher ends up helping her fight off all the guards. At the same time, Joey King fights the henchwoman from earlier, the one with the whip. And this time, Joey King fights her, and just like everyone else she's faced so far, beats her. I see a pattern emerging. Lynn is then chopped down by the bad guy, by the king bad guy, which leaves us with the final face-off of Joey King's princess versus the new bad guy king. And he gets the upper hand. He has her outside, throws her down in front of the people and says, this is why you don't backstab me, this is why you don't betray me or belittle me or whatever he says. He's going to kill her in front of everybody. He's giving this big grand speech and giving her just enough time to save up the strength to ultimately grab his sword, grab him, slice his head off. Spoiler alert. And this is when the king, the actual king, comes along, sees his daughter as the hero, knights her on the spot and says, we have a new heir to the throne. She gets what she wants. And then the big fat guard turns up and goes, hey, there she is. Because again, why not end it on a fat shaming joke? Fat guy can't walk upstairs. Hilarious. That was, it was a movie. They spent time on it. They put money in it. You know, they made it. It's not a good movie. As I said, some of the action was fine, and I think that's the thing with majority of the movie. A lot of stuff in it is fine. It's not bad, it's fine. It's very clear to have the whole thing of women are great, and I fully agree with that. Women are fantastic, but just the way it's written within this movie, you have stuff like at the start, over the top henchmen coming along going, ha ha ha, you're just a little girl. Oh no, you beat me up. And then the next guy going, I'm gonna show you your place. And she says stuff like, I've heard that before. It's just so generic and so badly done. I get you've got that message across, women are great, I fully agree. But just the way it was done was a bit cheesy. And overall, the movie, it had nothing of substance to it. It had no standout moments, it had no big scenes, it had no memorable moments at all, really. So ultimately we get down to a rating out of 10 for The Princess. As I said, it's not a terrible movie. It's fine. It's got nothing special about it. It's structured fine. It goes along at an okay pace and there's some good action in there. I think Joey King's a very good actress, but so many lame parts to it. The fat guy joke, the bad dialogue, the whole always knowing where the story was going, no other options for it. The action not being particularly standout, not really having any memorable moments. I don't think I could ever give it more than a 4 out of 10, and I think even that's being generous. The takeaway I got from the entire story is don't send the fat guard to the top of the tower to look for the princess.